It's great to have you on another amazing episode of Enterprise Morning on Enterprise Television. I am Henry E. Gwibike. And in a bit, we'll be going to our newspaper headlines today to see what we have for you this morning. And right after that will be our main conversation also for today. While we get everything all sorted out for you, please do well to visit our website at www.enterprisetvnews.com and also like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. As usual, I have with me my ever beautiful co-host.
I'm Choma. Good morning.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Harry.
Thank you. And how was your night today?
It was great, and yes.
Also great.
Okay.
All right. So before we make our start this morning, we have with us in the studios Dr. Olaika Oyegbile. He is an educator and also a public affairs commentator. And also with us is Barrister Evans Ofeli, a barrister at law and also a public affairs commentator. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
Welcome very much to Enterprise Morning today. So quickly, let's kick off with the first daily we have for you, and this coming from the Daily Independent. The big story here says reps seek single tenure of 6 years for president and governors, and the rider here says rotational presidency among 6 geopolitical zones.
And on the top strip of the Daily Independent newspaper, we have NAS invites stakeholders over airport's concession.
And also on the top strip of the same newspaper, Labour may resume strike as deadline to federal government ends today.
And moving on, we have another story. PDP silent as court declares Pro-Wike lawmakers members, and we have about 2 riders. Court didn't say assemblymen are PDP members. This is coming from the Rivers AG. And the last rider here, CSO petitions NJC over Rivers High Court judgment.
All right, so let's get into that particular story. And we have a lawyer in our midst today, and there's no other that would take this than him better. And we would love to ask you, when the PDP is silent, of course, on the declaration of the Pro-Wike lawmakers as members, at the same time, court didn't say assemblymen are PDP members. Help us understand the contradiction.
Well, the court delivered a judgment yesterday on a case filed before it against the 24 members now who defected from the PDP to the APC in December, sometime in December last year. Now, the court is of the view that the claimant did not show evidence or did not tender sufficient evidence to ground that claim that their seat be declared vacant. Now, the court has drawn our attention to the fact that defection in the eyes of the law will go beyond newspaper publication, expressions, and online publication. That the claimant, because he that asserts must prove, that the claimant ought to have shown in the register of the membership of those where they were delisted for the membership of the PDP, and also show where they have been registered in the membership of the APC, and they should also show membership card, tender evidence to that effect, so that that would be. You see, it's not a popular judgment. More so, the public, the people are aghast as to why the court should do that. People have said that the court have collected money or not collect money. My duty here is to do analysis. I may not agree with the judgment. I may actually agree with the judgment, but the fulcrum of law is that you do not get judgment on the strength of public expression or public outcry. No. The law is that you will get judgment based on the evidence before the court. Okay? Now, if you dig deep into the matter, it appears that this judgment now tends to favor those lawmakers who defected at that time. Because the water is now cold for them, they seem almost displaced. Remember, there was also another judgment that came some weeks ago, that there was an interim injunction restraining those 27 members from parading themselves as lawmakers. That was an interim injunction which have a lifespan of 7 days or at most 14 days, which had actually expired, but same have not been vacated. Okay, before the second judgment came now. The PDP have not spoken. Those members claim they did not defect, just like the court have said. But we saw it in December when they defected, when they even spoke to journalists. You understand? But they didn't take step further to perfect that defection. Because at that time too, the APC leadership came out and said that these people are not our members, if you remember.
Very true.
So they now claim that it was not a defection. Okay. One of their chieftain who spoke today on one of the TV stations where I did analysis this morning, that's where I'm coming from right now. They interviewed one of the chieftain of the party, and he said the members did not defect, that they were acting a drama. That though I asked him when did legislative business become Nollywood display, and he said, yeah, that he has not seen the leader. If you see him, he will find out whether truly that was a defection or not. Paul said they spoke to newsmen then. And, you see, part of the problem too that happened in this case was that the law did not say, the constitution did not say that a court will have to make a proclamation to the federal that seats are vacant. So why go to court to ask the court to make a declaration when the constitution didn't say when they move their seat is declared vacant? The next thing you should do is that the speaker should mobilize and make the effect and ask INEC to conduct election. Maybe because part of those who defected, the speaker was among them. Maybe that was why they went to court. Otherwise, they're not supposed to go to court. And the court have laid down a principle of law now, so which is logical by law, that defection should go beyond expression. It should, because how do you ascertain membership of a party? Is it by oral expression or by actual registration with evidence of registration? So whichever way you look at it, the law seems to be, the judgment seems to favor those who have done the wrong thing.
Thank you, Barrister Philly. I saw you writing down something, and I believe you have something to say about this, and maybe you have something contradictory.
I am not a lawyer. So, with what you have said now, it has sort of brought to me in clear terms why people always say the law is an ass. Because now when you say that the people who came on air to say that they have defected a party, and then another party takes them to court, that party must provide where they were delisted from the party which they said. I mean, it becomes a very difficult thing to do. At the end of the day, what I see in this is that the common man, the River State man, is not in the reckoning of all this politics. It is just the individual members of the House that are determined. How many of them went back to their constituencies to say that, look, we're having this problem with the governor or with the party, we want to defect from PDP to APC? None. They were the ones who just sat down with themselves, the 25 or how many of them sat down and said, no, we are defecting. And then they will go back to their, assuming they got away with it, next election they will go back to the constituency and be voted for again. I mean, it makes a ridicule of what we call politics. So what we need to do, I don't even know now, because the explanation he has given me has opened my eyes to a lot of loopholes in our constitution. But then, how many do you want to write everything down in the constitution? How do you solve this problem?
Yes, because I actually wanted to equally ask you, where does this leave Siminalayi Fubara? And secondly, is there a way in the law where persons can be proactive you foresee the future and say, okay, if this happened or if this is going to happen, this is what I should do 10 steps ahead so I can mitigate what this other person will do.
Well, you said how does this leave Fubara?
Yes.
The jungle has matured now. As I said, the whole thing is that the court went further to say that every action taken so far by the House from the point where the dispute started up until now is valid. So all decisions they have taken, so all the time they have muted to impeach Fubara, everything they have done is valid. Then the actions of those 3 lawmakers, from the budget to all the legislative activities they've taken so far, are invalid. Okay, so you see the implication of judgment. Now, you say that everything cannot be written in the Constitution. That is the truth. That is why we have case law. The court exists to add to what is established. The court exists to make case law to address submerging contingencies. There is no foreseeable end. No legislator or lawmaker can sit down and foresee the end of any matter anywhere. So the disruptions that will come along, that want to distort what the law has laid down, okay, will be taken care of by the court. And when the court make a proclamation, it becomes law. Now, one of the chieftains that I was talking about, who were with me on the show this morning, said that there is nowhere you can show in the PDP records that these persons resigned. Stated, wrote a resignation letter. Now, I countered them by saying that the Constitution did not prescribe a written resignation as a prerequisite or a condition precedent for defection. It said once you leave your seat. So if the Constitution is silent about it, you cannot make it one of the requirements, because as a chieftain of a party, you cannot rewrite the Constitution. You can only mute for an amendment and you pass it through the National Assembly for addition, that be added as a requirement. So you can't bring that in. It does not matter whether they wrote to resign, but they spoke to the press. The only problem we had in this case was that the video clips where these various lawmakers, electronic evidence, where these various lawmakers made submission to the fact that they have left, was not tendered in evidence. In the case of that reference, the court will not provide evidence for you in your case. You understand? The court will not act beyond what you have provided for. So that is why the public, they are aghast, because the truth is that the law will not be rewritten to favor society or to make them feel good. Okay? The principles of law are established. It is left for you to get your evidence together before you advance your case. No case can be resolved on the basis of a zero evidence.
Can this be appealed?
Yeah, that's what I
Of course, the options of appeal are open. This is the court of first instance. The Attorney General of Rivers State, said something very instructive, that the court did not say they are still members of the party. That actually that case was struck out for want of local standard. That the court under reference have no jurisdiction, and so they struck the matter out. So when he made that statement yesterday, now my conclusion is this: until the judgment is out for us to read, because it's going to be online, it's going to be everywhere, until we read the judgment and actually see what exactly the court made as its judgment, the ratio here, we cannot actually determine this case wholesomely until we see the judgment. So, but the truth is that whichever way it goes, the Attorney General also stressed that when there is a case between an individual and an institution of government, or an institution between an institution of government and another institution of government, it's actually the Federal High Court that have jurisdiction. That's the truth. But this matter was determined by the Rivers State High Court. Does the Rivers State High Court have jurisdiction? Those are questions that will be on the when we see the judgment.
All right.
Thank you. Now let's get into the next dailies on our list, and the next is the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's get into the big story here. Minimum wage. We won't accept 100,000 that is coming from labor. And Algeria in Geneva say no strike for now. Lagos State government or the local government can't pay 62,000 naira. That is coming from the ALGON. And the last rider here says suspense as tripartite committee submits reports to Tinubu.
Right, on the top strip of the same newspaper, bandits kill 4 officers, 22 others in Katsina. And that's coming from the police authority.
And still moving on to the top strip, 30 reps advocate 6 years single term for president governors.
Okay, and Jazz Bank finances 10,000 hectares of rice farm in Bauchi State. So I guess that's all we have for Daily Trust. Now let's get into the big story here. Minimum wage, we want to set up to 100,000 naira, and that's coming from labor. Where does this leave us, Dr. Olenka?
Well, I think the issue of minimum wage has become like the proverbial Russian roulette. Play it here, you play it there, and all that. But in all honesty, if we need to face ourselves and tell ourselves the stark truth, any governor or any government that says today it wants to pay 60,000 naira as minimum wage is unrealistic, is unfeeling, and a very careless government that does not take into cognizance the living standard of what we have in the country today. Yes, the labor might have been unrealistic, asking for 650,000, 450 or whatever, with a provision by the outgoing government or outgoing government that subsidy or the so-called subsidy have been paid till the end of June. You, rather than come in to study the template and agree that no, you are wrong in this way, we want to redo it this way, we want to redo it that way, you came in without any preparation, without anything, without studying the books. Because in all honesty, we must agree, Tinubu was an outsider in the Buhari government. We all know that. So he may not have known what were their plans. But when you are coming in, the first thing you should have done is, okay, he has given you a breather of 1 month. Come in, study the books for that 1 month. If you know that, oh, okay, we couldn't finish the studying, let us extend it for another 1 month or 2 months. And then we will decide whether we want to go that route. But you didn't take that. You increased fuel price and everything went haywire. Now, 1 year after, you are still thinking, how much should I pay them? Why did you remove it when you know you didn't have a plan? Because you have been warned that, look, when you do this, everything will scatter. And things scatter, you now came in, you now say, okay, you give them 35,000 for the first 3 months, that's for federal workers. Some of them up to today said they only got it for 1 month. Now, prices of things have gone high. Fuel that we used to be about 200 is about 700 or 1,000 and all that now. And then you want to continue to pay 30,000 for what? Now, judges' salary has been increased by 300%. Just as I was coming this morning, somebody was doing the mathematics that means the Chief Justice of the Federation will get about 5 million naira per month. It takes a lot to be a judge. I accept that, and I'm not saying that money is too much for him. But the same chief judge will have a cook who will be paid 30,000 or 60,000. How do you reconcile that? The judge, the chief judge, or either the chief justice or the chief judge or whatever, they don't live in Agege. They live maybe in VI and the rest of them.
They live in Agege, they're not going to write judgment.
And then you will have a driver, you will have a cook who will live in Agege, or maybe the judge might have a place to give him or whatever. But let's look at it realistically. Let's even say such a person doesn't have, or he has only one child. which is impossible because you have to notice that the rich man is the one that doesn't have many children. The poor sex is the only. I hope you don't mind that language. It's the only recreation they have. So they are the ones that have more children than the rich people. Therefore, when you give somebody 60,000 and he sees is the one that drives the judge, is the one that drives the judge's wife, children, and so on to school. His own children cannot attend the same school the children of the judges attend. So how do you? And these same people who are saying the economy will collapse, the moment they were giving themselves 165 million each to buy SUVs, the economy will not collapse. When they are in their convoy of one man with almost 10, 20 vehicles, the economy will not collapse. But when the poor man wants 60 or more than 60,000, they bring the red herring, the economy will collapse, this, and that, and everybody follow them and chorus it. I don't believe that. If the government cannot cut down its own appetite, even the little appetite that the poor man has, how do you want to say? The governors that are saying they can't pay 60,000, the former Zamfara state governor, who is now a minister, took away 50, I hope I'm correct, 50 vehicles from the government house. What is the government doing with 50 vehicles? They are not buses. They are not buses meant to ferry workers around. They are luxury vehicles. What is the government doing? How many commissioners do they have that the government house alone had 50 vehicles that the governor can take away? They don't want to cut their appetite. They want the poor man to cut his own. The one that he doesn't even have. How much is a bag of rice now? A bag of rice is about 80,000 or thereabout. And then you are saying 60,000 is too much. If a man has a wife, let's even assume that the two of them are earning 60,000 each. That's 120. So when they come together, they bag a bag of rice. What are they going to use to cook it before the next month comes? What are they going to use for their children? So labor might be unrealistic in demanding what they have demanded, but the government itself must come and look at it critically, that the rising cost of living is not the fault of labor. Neither is it the fault of you and I. It is the fault of government. Government is the one that has the power, that we have invested the power in, to cut, to make life more meaningful for us. But the government is not doing anything. People can't go to farm. People cannot transport what they are harvested from the farm. And things are going higher. And then you are saying, no, you will not pay more than 60,000. I think it's unrealistic for the government.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr.
I don't know, just your last thought on that.
Yes, it's the federal government that disrupted the lives of the citizens. Now, the lives of the citizens, this is even one arrangement that the government have not supported the people financially, even by virtue of its constitutional rule by Section 14 of the Constitution. The security and welfare of the people will be the primary purpose of government. That role, the government have not even played it. The people were barely managing when the government came and disrupted everything. And the people could no longer bear it. Labor now need to ask for increments because the government didn't plan. So it's not even also able to pay. Now, Labor is saying that they're not going to accept 100,000. Nobody has even proposed that 100,000. That's what they are saying. Because the president gave the whole thing to a minister, Wale Educho. He came up with 105. Now, Governors Forum, they are saying they cannot even pay 60. They're muting 57. And then, so there's a possibility that we are going back to that strike, from what I see. Okay? So I think the federal government should stop all this thing, all this hand-to-mouth negotiation.
Thank you, Barrister Feli. But shortly now, looking at the fact that Labour have come down to 250,000 and the governors are still insisting they can't pay 57, we're going to go back to strike. Where do you think this will definitely end? do you think there will definitely be a compromise from the federal government? Do you think at all?
The federal government must take responsibility of this sort. They cost it, okay? They must, because you don't even have the facilities ordinarily that should have saved money on workers, for workers. They don't have the public schools. They are not well equipped. They could send their children to private school. You don't have a transport system for them, okay? You don't have a facility that will keep money in their hands. So, or even if you pay them 200,000, 500,000, the money will still be frittered away because there's nothing, and they don't have anything they're enjoying. So they pay house rent too. You don't have low-cost housing for them. You don't have any facility for them. So the government is going deeper into this crisis, and they need to watch it because let it not get to a point where they will start to revolt, and that will lead to.
Very true. Yes, we would have loved to go on and on and on, but for the want of time, we just have to keep it at that. And I'd love to say thank you to Pastor Van Sofeli and Doctor. Thank you so very much for having you. And just to remind you that both gentlemen will be here with us, if possible, to take us on the main conversation for today.
Okay, when we return, is a 6-year single term for the presidents and governors the road to salvation for Nigerian democracy? Let's talk about that in a moment.